Having the right pair of shoes can often be the determining factor as to whether a person can stay independently in a dementia unit. Because to be able to stay independently in a D3 first entry dementia facility, you have to be able to walk independently. And to walk independently, you need a good pair of shoes, especially if your bedroom is at the end of the long corridor and you have to walk a long distance there and back, say 4 or 5 times a day. Then you need good, strong, solid, comfortable shoes in order to be able to make the distance. So it's quite a mission getting the right pair of shoes, but the best thing really by far is to take your mother or your father to a shoe shop that specialises in shoes for elderly people. Even if you have to take the wheelchair, even if you have to get, a taxi bus, it's an important thing to get the right pair of shoes for a person living in a dementia unit. Because otherwise, if they're just walking around in sort of floppy slippers or uncomfortable shoes, or worse still, high heels, if you can believe it, and some women do come to dementia facilities with high heels and slingbacks at that. Yeah, obviously that's not going to work. The shoes need to be flat, good, solid, comfortable base, flexible. Velcro can often work, especially if the feet are swollen. You can get shoes, they call them diabetic shoes for swollen feet. But if the feet are not swollen, the main thing is that the shoes are supportive and comfortable. Now, if you've known the shoes that your mother, maybe she's had a brand of shoes here in New Zealand, Hush Puppies are a common brand for elderly people. So if she's always had a common brand of shoes that she's liked, excellent, keep with those. You may not have to take her to the shoe shop, that being the case, if you know the brand and the fit and it works for her. But otherwise, if that exercise hasn't been done, it's much better to take them to the specialised shoe shop, because otherwise you can bring 10 pairs of shoes to the dementia unit to try them on and find that none of them work, and then you have to go back again. It's laborious. And it is a mission. It's not easy to get the right pair of shoes, depending on the number of problems that the person has. There's so many issues when you get older that determine what sort of shoes one should have. There may be osteoarthritic hips, rheumatoid arthritic knees, osteoarthritic any joints of the weight-bearing joints, hips, knees, ankles. You can have bunions and verrucas on the feet, which cause a lot of problems, hammer toes, knock knees, varus valgus knees, so many things that determine weight-bearing. And unless the shoes are angled and positioned in the right way to be able to give maximum support and comfort for the person, unless that can be the case, the person is so disadvantaged. We all know how terrible it is when you're walking around in a pair of shoes that are uncomfortable, tight, and horrible to wear. And it's worse so when you're older, because you've got all these disadvantages generally that you have to put up with. The best situation, of course, is if the person is slim, fit, and has strong musculature, even into their 80s and 90s, maybe not 90s, but 80s still. At the dementia units I've worked at, there's been a number of women there in this category. One woman in particular I worked a lot with as a physiotherapist. She was slim, sprightly, very strong, unbelievably so. She was very small, only about 45 kilograms, and short, 5 foot high, but so strong. She'd been very sporty all her life and worked on a farm, and she said she always used to pull out all the tussocks. That must have been a massive job, and that takes a lot of arm strength. So she had a formidable strength, but there were quite a number of other women in that similar category. Now, for those women, it's generally not so difficult to get the right shoes, because it's when you've got swollen feet and you're overweight, that of course adds, the difficulty factor gets higher when you've got those other aspects in place. But if you're slim and sprightly and you've got good musculature, and all your joints are positioned on top of each other in a straight line, good posture and all, it helps. But still, even with little ladies that have all that going for them, there are still ever-present verrucas and bunions, which cause a lot of pain with elderly women's feet. You can have everything going for you, but if you have one little verruca underneath the ball of your foot, that can put everything out. So along with the good shoes, you also need to make sure that the regular chiropodist appointments are in place. So whenever anyone comes into a dementia facility, all the appointments that they have had prior to coming to the facility need to be maintained after they come into the facility, like chiropodist appointments. If they've had appointments every 6 weeks to go to the chiropodist, that needs to be maintained. Put that in place. Just mention to the charge nurse that your mother has chiropodist appointments every 6 weeks. No doubt there's other women that in the same position, and they will diary it in the system. But it doesn't happen automatically. You need to state these things, just like the newspaper subscription, the hairdressing appointments, the chiropodist appointments. You need to be, as the relative, you need to initiate all these things to make sure your mother has the best care. So getting these shoes in place, good pair of shoes and the chiropodist appointment are vital. Now with the shoes, one pair of shoes is fine. That pair of shoes will do for inside, outside, evening wear, much better than slippers. You know, slippers are out for most people in their 80s and 90s. They're too flimsy and floppy, and there's no support around the ankle with bedroom slippers. So really the same pair of shoes they can wear in whatever environment, as long as they're strong, comfortable and supportive. Suggestion being that you get 2 good pairs, because often one pair can go missing. A wanderer, a dementia resident can come into the room unbeknown to anyone else, take the pair out of the wardrobe, or if they're under the bed, and stuff them under someone else's wardrobe, or throw them out anywhere, out the window, in the rubbish bin, you never know. So that is a dire situation if your mother's left without her pair of shoes, if one pair has gone missing. No doubt it will come back in time, but still your mother can't afford to be without shoes until they're found. So if you have 2 pairs, maybe put one pair up at the top of the wardrobe, right at the back, where the wanderers can't get them and they're safe, and then you can use that second pair if need be. So these are all the considerations of shoes, to get comfortable, supportive shoes so your mother can walk independently and happily in a dementia unit up the long corridors if she needs to go to her room and her bathroom throughout the day, which is often 4 or 5 times a day, which is a lot for that age group. So I've written these 2 books, The Resident's Voice and The Resident's Rise, both from a dementia unit, and they've got all the techniques in there to help people with dementia, the epilogues, positive practical techniques, all positive practical techniques to help these people with dementia. So these videos go into these techniques and the epilogues in both books. So if you like reading, if you like reading, they're in the books and they're on Amazon. You can get them on Amazon and also my website in the description below. So thank you for your subscriptions and thank you for your looks and likes and comments. I can see that things are picking up. I really appreciate it. It's fantastic, encouraging, and we'll be doing further topics on all these things like hairdressing and exercises and shoes and such like, so your mother, and chairs, so your mother and father, your relatives can be comfortable, safe and secure in dementia facilities. Thank you.